I like Vercel. It's easy. It's pretty compatible with your React applications. You're not gonna have a hard time. If you're gonna use something like AWS, you know, you could be fighting with it for a little bit just to get everything up and running. So like, I'll show you kind of the kind of the way it works and just like how easy you can get something up. Now, if you know that you're gonna have like a quadrillion calls, or you just need this to never go down, yeah, then probably want to get this on AWS. But if you know that essentially you don't need that much, it's just a little side project that you're creating, throw it up on Vercel. Even if you're gonna have more than maybe like 10,000 people using your app, put it on AWS.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's all about. Yeah, there's other factors you can look at. Hey, fun fact, I just pulled up a bookmark of like years ago, I deployed a local Gatsby app I built to IPFS local node, right?
Yep.
Then I hit Cloudflare's IPFS gateway, I think, and you know, they cache, sure. And I just went back to that bookmark off of Cloudflare, and it's still there.
It's still working?
Yeah, it's still there.
When was it? When did you deploy it?
It was probably 2 years or more ago.
And so is this cached on there? That's pretty cool.
So
I don't get, maybe there's some node running it that's pinned, I don't know, maybe it's on Pinata, I don't know, so I'll have to look. But that's pretty cool that I can just like keep track of that hash and like access it. Like I could go probably to some other, I could run a local node, hit that. Can I do this on maybe the browser?
That's why it's called Pinata, huh?
I'm using.
They're a pinning service, because
Light bar.
otherwise, if you just use raw,
Alright, so
you gotta have somebody pin it.
I'm trying to hit like the actual protocol on Brave, and yeah, of course it's spinning. Just
Yeah.
not doing shit.
I mean, usually it does take a while for it too.
I would expect Brave to at least like connect to a Cloudflare or something like that.
So I'm gonna go, pretty much right now, I'm gonna go back to Vercel, and I'm gonna give it access to that repo. This deployment workshop. We'll save this, it's pretty easy, right? So now it has access. Now I can come here, I can hit add new, I can say project, right? You can look for the ones that we get access to, which is in the deployment workshop. And from here, you literally don't need to do anything. Now, if you were working on a project that was different, you had a different root directory, you had some environmental variables that you wanted to pass server side, right? You can pass them here. You have other settings, right? Like let's say you weren't using NPM or you're using Yarn, just whatever it was. Question.
What kind of environmental variables would I want to pass server side?
API calls.
API keys?
API keys, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. API keys.
So it'll let
Hide
you
keys.
put in the secrets in their environment so that the user doesn't ever see them.
Yeah,
That would be nice.
which is nice. And then you just have to give like the name that it's being called on client side. Same, so if the names are the same, you can pass it, and that value is gonna be encrypted, which is great, right? Nobody's gonna be able to see it.
Just to preface, do you have to have Next.js as your kind of like infrastructure to deploy to Vercel?
No, you can use any of them. But Next.js and Vercel work hand in hand, so they right? Like this is where they're pushing you to use like their infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So like the difference between Vercel and Fleek would just be like, with Fleek you technically could build a website that just is completely censorship resistant, right? Because you can deploy a website to IPFS, Fleek will get it pinned a bunch of places for you, and then even if the government was like, hey, I don't want this website up anymore, well, too bad, like how, you can't remove it, right?
So that's what Tornado Cache should have used.
Well, Tornado Cache is still acceptable, because of the smart contracts, right? You can't stop my access to the smart contracts, you just can stop my access to.
I guess we didn't really cover that. Like you can interact with any smart contract that's deployed.
Yeah.
Well,
You don't need.
there's one caveat here, right? If you're going through a centralized RPC provider and they're OFAC compliant, then they can blacklist smart contracts.
Oh.
That's where things get really scary, right? So the idea with Ethereum is it should be permissionless and open for anyone to deploy smart contracts and access them. But the majority of RPC providers are actually centralized, right? So you're using like Infura, you're using Alchemy. And if they're OFAC compliant, they can actually block your use to certain contracts.
Yeah.
And that's where things get really scary.
Yeah, but then I can just deploy another contract that passes everything to that contract that they haven't.
Right, but
Oh,
you gotta build
okay.
trust, right?
Yeah.
Just like with proxies, you don't wanna change the address because you have trust in this contract.
It would be kinda cool, we didn't have time for this, but if you spun up your own Ethereum node, connected to your MetaMask extension to your own node.
Mhm.
Then you're chilling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that's a heavy lift, I mean, you gotta,
Right.
a node is not easy these days.
So as long as we have no issues here, I can click this deploy button and it's gonna build everything. Now, honestly, lately, beautiful, right? This building process, everything that I've deployed, like probably within the last 4 or 5 months has always worked. When this first, like Next.js kind of first got popular, yeah, you were gonna spend a couple hours just sitting here debugging. right?
Oh, wow.
So that's nice. So I'll show you, like one of the big things that you might run into, is you'll get this next babble, issue that sometimes happens a lot.
Can we get those
You'll
going?
get this. We'll actually see if he gets it to us. You'll get this next babble issue, and essentially what you need to do is pass an array, basically saying next babble as well here. But let's see. It's kind of taking a while, so it might not like me.
That's a building because it's a, it's like a.
Oh, no, so we had no problems. So we're live, right? Cool. Now your project's live, now you need to go show it to the world, and you can come here, and it'll give you this cool little domain. You can actually, if you use the Vercel.app domain, you can pretty much keep that and change this to be whatever, right? So we can say like ETH SD, right? Save that, and that will just be the domain for this. Obviously, you can hook up your own domains if you purchase them and add them fairly simply. I don't have any domains to show you, so I don't. So like I said, this actually is a scavenger hunt, so I'll post it in the Discord. You can go through it if you want to test your little bit of CSS skills or front-end skills that you,
Oh, it's a CSS.
if you wanna.
What are we looking for here, Bob?
That's the treasure hunt.
Is it in the code?
It's
That
within,
what-
yeah, it's
Okay.
within,
Okay.
it's all within the client.
Okay.
Everything that you're looking for is within the client, and then, you know, there's continuous hints as you go. Or if,
Oh, hints? Ooh.
if we have time, we could, no, I already know what it is, I can't really work through it with you guys. But, yeah, don't, it's nothing crazy, I just made it for fun, so.
So and then if you changed your GitHub and you pushed, will it build?
Yes, so
publish?
if we wanted to make a change to this, right? Somewhere here, right?
Just change the CSS or something.
You put,
Well, the CSS is all.
can you put
we can
a,
change the CSS.
an apostrophe?
So we
Yeah.
can change, actually, I can't change the CSS, that'll break something too.
How
We
about
can
just,
change this, right? We
Yeah,
can change
there
the
you go.
size of it. So,
Oh, yeah, you
right.
took it, you took it down.
So we can say clouds treasure hunt. Oh, I can't do that because I don't feel like dealing with that. For it's ETH SD. Alright, and we'll make it bigger. We come down here, we do our usual, you know. And then, you know, just when you're making your commits, just try to like make them good. There's like,
Descriptive?
yeah,
Helpful?
descriptive. There's like a GitHub standard for making commits where it's pretty much like this, where you basically say add what you add, or if it was a fix or a feature, right? And do all that jazz. So we'll just say, well,
Change logo.
So we're supposed to, are we supposed to pull down a GitHub project?
no, why?
Okay, I didn't know if we're, how we're supposed to complete the treasure hunt, if we're supposed to be like writing some commits or something like that.
Oh, no,
No, no,
he
no.
just wanted me to show
Okay.
what it was like to deploy for the people who do it front end. So like I said, it's nothing crazy here today. We're not like doing any, and then eventually this will update. If I ever find my mouse, right? And we can see it taking it, it'll say, look, cool, we did that. And it'll tell us that it's building, it's adding new header, which is nice. Also, when you're building, if you do something like this, Well, there's actually two ways. If you really care about making something responsive, you can, with using Next.js, run it from localhost and see it on your mobile device, right? That way you can get
Oh, that's sweet.
something accurate. But then the other option is pushing it up here while you're working and, you
Just
know,
use the Chrome Dev tool, right?
using, no, I mean like, Chrome DevTools is nice, but because this is a Safari browser, and some things just work differently on your phone, it's good to actually have a physical device and like, at least.
Be able to use it too, like kind of on a UX perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I have to reach up here for this. You wouldn't be able to tell that on the computer.
And then it changes, right? So you can make all your pushes, everything's all set up, it's all integrated, nothing has to really, all the good jazz is on you. So that's how to use Vercel. Question?
I was gonna add, if you want to continue working on a project, can't you also just create another branch, kind of like your dev branch? So then you're not really breaking prod.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
then you can still kind of see like what you mentioned, like see how, if it's responsive or not on your phone, and if it's not, at least it's not on the prod site, it's on your feature branch, and then you
Oh,
should still
but
have
for
access to
Vercel?
it.
No.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't be able to, because Vercel's only gonna take your main branch. So
I
if you
thought it
was-
said something on the UI about deploy a branch.
Yeah.
Yeah, active branches down at the bottom. Thought that was the idea.
Oh yeah. So I guess you could actually come here and create a new branch and work with it. But to be honest, the preferred way to probably do this is just through localhost and then sync it on your phone. But yeah, you could come here and add some branches, and connect them here at the bottom. But if you're doing something like this, it's should typically be for a smaller project, not something that's super serious.
I would imagine if you're doing something for real, you'd have a team and you'd have some like significant, I mean, you'd go with a, you know, a cloud infrastructure.
They'll have, there should be somebody doing the structure of this. But Vercel's good for you to get your products up for your hackathon. Oh, you found it already? Oh, Babby got it. You got it.
Is it the treasure chest?
Yeah, you probably got it, yeah.
It's not super hard.
Yeah, that was cool though. That's cool. I'll give you that one. That was cool. I
Um,
did this little hack here with this.
Yeah.
I just did that.
Oh.
Just switched for it.
Nice.
I know I was supposed to use that.
Or if you wanted to have like some of these deployed for your portfolio, like if you wanted to build dApps and you put it up and say, oh yeah, I have this stuff here. I mean, that's on my side. I have a couple links to deployed applications where, no one uses them, but you can say like, I built these things
Yeah.
and they're deployed and they're on mainnet or whatever, L2,
I mean,
whatever.
Vercel is good. It can handle a lot. Like they have team packages, they have other stuff. Like this is a hobby account, but you can build stuff for teams. It can handle a fairly decent load. I just think like if you're making, like corporate level applications, you might want to use something stronger.
Wallet Connect uses
Like if
Vercel.
I'm gonna build Facebook, I wouldn't build Facebook with Vercel.
Yeah, but Facebook isn't built on anything. They have to build all of their own.
Yeah.
But
Like, if you were to move to something that's like very large production, what would be the next step after Vercel?
Kubernetes.
Kubernetes?
Yeah. Like you're running around servers at that point, and you're scaling.
Like
You're scaling containers within servers on AWS if you're like at that level.
Yeah.
You're load balancing across everything, and like you're spinning things up and down for environments using containers, and Kubernetes manages those containers.
Yeah, one server of Kubernetes is gonna cost you $2,000 a month though. So.
Yeah, but like I mean,
That's
if that's the kind of load you're dealing with,
Yeah.
then you need that kind of fine-tuned architecture where you can go in and plug and play, and you have connections to your databases, and you're doing security in depth, so you've got layers across everything. You want control, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so this
Defense in depth. Sorry, that's what I was saying. Not security in depth.
Yeah, so this just makes it small. I actually think I have something from maybe Patrick Collins that's a Fleek one that I can show you guys if you want.
Yeah, IPFS is kind of interesting to me, considering that, the app I did deploy, this was not a Web3 app, it's just a regular, like, app, still available. I'm like, whoa, mind blown. The problem with IPFS though, it seems, is like it never works if you're using the direct protocol, which is kind of like if there are developers working on IPFS protocol, which I'm sure there is, Protocol Labs has a lot of funding, that would be like the first thing to fix. Like, why is it, like the content's there, but you can't connect to it, that's like the hard, like, that's just like, I'm mind blown that that's not like the first thing to lie.
Like,
Yeah, we've deployed to Internet Computer to decentralize the front end. So it's always there and always available, but that project has some very,
Computer, right?
huh?
You're talking about that project, Internet Computer?
ICP, yeah. There are some issues with all of it, but for Internet Computer, they have some very, very performant machines strategically located around the globe. But their protocol, or their governance process also allows for them to vote on removal, because somebody did put a build of Mario Kart on one of their containers, and Nintendo was about to sue them, and they voted to take it down for copyright infringement,
But
but
they can't sue them because it's decentralized, right?
I think they were gonna sue the foundation.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, there's always issues, but there are some like IPFS or Filecoin's infrastructure where you pay people to host that content, so that would probably be a little bit better than IPFS, which is kind of generally a volunteer process. But there are these options to decentralize your front end, because that's an issue as well. If you want, you know, the Department of Justice to squat on your DNS, if that's a problem for you, or, you know, Tornado Cache, if you put the front end, you know, in IPFS or something, we can always hit it. But, you know, it's always a balance of, you know, performance, or, you know, how many people are gonna be able to hit it at the same time, or, you know, is it gonna always be available?
Yeah, so like, yeah, this is Fleek, so like, if you wanted a more Web3 alternative, right, like you sign into this with your MetaMask, and they're like, you know, very just Web3 friendly. You know, this site is actually deployed to Fleek, I mean not Fleek, to IPFS.
It's a lottery?
Yeah, it's a lottery contract. And then they do basically the good jazz of penning it for you, right?
Yeah.
So that's cool. And then,
You can access that through IPFS, I'm guessing, using that CID.
yeah. So you can do it either way. So this basically just gives you like a domain for your, and if I know my password, which maybe I don't like that. Right. And then you could do whatever task here. So this is just a way that's like more what the alternative, if that's how you wanted to do with your, don't steal my testnet either.
Chad, do we need the door open for the pizza?
They should call me,
They should call
but,
you.
maybe my own.
Run away with
Do they have the code? Because if they don't have the code, they can't get into the door.
They do have the code.
Yeah.
Good.
Who's hungry?
I'm down.
Sounds like a lot of people.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. Yep, so those are your two options. Enjoy them. Remember, there's a bunch of tools out there for you to build with, however you see fit for your project. There's a bunch of cool things you can do that Alchemy didn't even show you, so. Like he introduced, there's oracles, this runs with oracles, there's tons of ways to automate your contracts and get creative with your projects.
It's kind of fun, well, I don't know if everybody can appreciate this if you have a history in Web 2, but you can have a decentralized front end and a decentralized back end. They might not be robust, but you can have this where it's just gonna be up forever if you want
it
it.
doesn't exist.
You don't have to deal with internet providers, you don't have to deal with ISPs, you don't have to deal with cloud infrastructure if you don't want to. It's a way to, and it's global, which is kind of the amazing thing, is if anybody wanted to participate in this lottery, they could, anywhere.
Oh, and you know what, Bafik, I forgot to tell you. You know those blockies?
Yes.
It comes built in with WAGMI.
Which WAGMI? Is that like the front end? I can't remember.
Or, no, this might be really good.
Oh, that's cool.
That's great.
Oh, no,
This
it's
is-
what.
And you're saying that like these are
No, this is, well, okay, yeah, the front end is deployed
Sure.
with Fleek, but the back end is a
If you
smart
don't know where it's
contract.
by,
I think
forever, as long as Ethereum runs and
This
then
one, this one
IPFS.
is built with Morales.
That's what's kinda
and
cool
I
about
think-
IPFS
Oh,
is
this
that
is sick.
you
It's
can
like a
go
Web3
free, you can
framework.
deploy, and then it
That's
gives you,
sick,
the
dude.
idea is deploy to, pinned by maybe Fleet's,
Fleek
IPFS
is running a
nodes, right?
service, yeah.
But then you can go over to Pinata, which is another paid service, and not even pin there, right? Not even pay them to pin, but through their Pinata IPFS gateways, access your content. So it's like if AWS opened up their infrastructure and their protocol basically to anyone to say, hey, anyone take it and run with it and compete with us at like quality of the customer experience basically. That's where this I feel like is going, where it's not necessarily competing on tech, it's competing on experience. So that's really cool, but I think the missing piece that I'm noticing with IPFS that I'm waiting for is all this infrastructure that's being built, right? We have blockchain, we have, distributed data systems like IPFS and et cetera, and all that is coming into place. But one part that I feel like is missing, right, that I'm noticing, I don't know if anyone has anything they wanna show, but it seems like they're missing the transport layer. Like, right now, we're still accessing IPFS over HTTP because of going through the actual protocol sucks, right? Like, we don't have a pure list that we connect to, right? And even if we did have a pure list, why would they want to connect to us? And it's like that kind of thing that BitTorrent always had, which is you most of the time just want to be a leecher and just download the videos for free. You don't want to see, because like, yeah, you're a good person, but you're not that great of a person, right? Like, okay, I'm just joking. I'm not a leecher, maybe I am. But that was always the problem. It's like, how do you incentivize people actually distributing? Like, IPFS's vision when I first saw Juan Bennett do a talk, right, at like one of these Web3 conferences, even before that, like at a school or something. He's talking about this problem where like you might have the data on some data warehouse in some location in the world that's sure highly available, but it's, let's say it's in a country that has some sort of government problem and the people are revolting for whatever reason and the internet shuts down there. Like, you can't get access to data outside of that country because the data is physically co-located somewhere else in the world. Yeah, it's highly available until it's not, right? Because of some political issue. So the idea is like, well, if the data was content addressed and that was stored on the local public's computer systems, I can get it from a friend that has it on their computer, as long as I have a connection to their computer. Problem is, transport layer, we don't have connections to each other. So whose incentive, what network is actually figuring that, what project is actually trying to solve that problem? I'm open ears and open eyes, because once that's solved, then yeah, we get this permanence idea of like, deploy the app and it just exists.
Well, there's
It's
projects that
I
are
think
looking
that's what
at that.
Arweave is trying to do though. They're all about like the perma web.
Yeah.
That's
how
true,
it's
and
like
they're solving
for
it, yeah, they're
it's for it
solving
to
it
be
by
like forever.
incentivizing it and making them part of the mining process, right?
Mhm.
Like, you cannot mine this chain without actually having, at least some set of the data, right? So, like, the chain will I don't know if it will halt or what if one piece gets permanently lost, I don't know exactly how that works, but that's a really cool idea. That was, solving that problem, but not by, like, FileCoin solves this problem by saying you actually have to pay an ongoing fee over the FileCoin network to keep your data hosted by FileCoin nodes, right? That's an economic incentive model. Arweave's interesting in the sense that I've heard that you're paying upfront costs to have I can't remember what they call it, but like that permanence over a long period of time. And then you're paying once and now it's just there because the miners are incentivized to keep it. That's a really cool project. I think that's gonna be very interesting to see play.
What are the main differences, like, I guess,
With
between
Arweave?
Arweave and IPFS?
Well, I think IPFS has no economic model to incentivize pinning data, right? That's why you go to places like Fleek and stuff like that, where you actually, they're economically incentivized because you have to pay them to pin it. It's like, you stop paying them the bill, they're gonna stop pinning it, and like, hope for the best, like your app still stays up. Maybe in the beginning when IPFS is new, your app will stay up like mine or whatever, but as things scale and there's a lot of demand for this network infrastructure, they're probably gonna throw away stuff that's not paying, right? So that's the idea of that problem with data distribution. BitTorrent really suffered from it, IPFS suffers from it. So FileCoin is like a solution to that, supposedly, where you have this other separate network using IPFS and pinning content, and proving that you're pinning content and getting rewarded in FileCoin to do so. Who's rewarding you? The person that wants to host the data or pay for the data to be hosted. But that's an ongoing like bill, right? the difference between Arweave is they don't have like a billing structure like that. They have a system where you pay a endowment, right? A fee.
Like 200 years or something.
You just pay an upfront endowment, and then the network, if they accept that payment, which most likely they would or whatever, they're going to now commit to providing that data there because it's a part of the consensus mechanism to keep that data on it.
Do you know how they price that endowment? If it's like in perpetuity, that's.
I think there was some estimation like that. The cost to host is like on a curve down. So like, if they charge based on the current prices right now, like the cost it can maintain that is low, I guess.
I had this conversation with somebody who spoke here, and they're a big proponent of Arweave, and they said for like $8, they have factored in that with the way that technology improves, that $8 would pay for hosting for forever. I think a lot of computer scientists would disagree with that model, but that's the idea, is like, you pay us an upfront fee, technology gets better, it's more efficient to store data, we'll be able to store that data forever if you pay us this like $8 now. $8 goes into the fund, and it funds infrastructure for as long as.
So like, anyone can come up with a theoretical answer to that. As far as how much you believe it is the next question, right? Like, we don't even know if all this stuff is gonna be like realized, wait, this isn't scalable or long-term like achievable. Like, there's people who are talking about Bitcoin being having security problems eventually in the near future or whatnot.
Yep.
So like, we never know what's gonna happen, but you can conjecture all you want at the future, or you can just try to like build something and make it happen, make it work. And if it lives for 10 years before some goes down, then so what? We learned our lesson from practice.
I do want to point this out though, because you use a different framework than I did. On my app, I use RainbowKit and WagMe, and it looks like you're using Morales.
and Web3 UI.
So there's some options out there, so you don't have to
What
put MetaMask off.
What is RainbowKit? What is WagMe, Morales?
RainbowKit is a wallet connector, so it's it basically packages up all of the popular wallets for you, so you don't have to do it and connect to create a provider for each one.
Oh,
So it'll basically allow you to say, hey, you can use
MetaMask.
one of the 50,000 wallets.
So it's like Wallet Connect. It's a competitor of Wallet Connect.
So actually, fun fact, RainbowKit uses Wallet Connect under their hood.
Ooh.
Yeah, they use a package that very nice.
And I think like everybody uses like Web3 auth even deeper, right? So it's the very
What is WagMe?
WagMe is a style guide, right? So make basically what looks like OpenSea. And then
Wait, I don't think it's style guide.
oh no, Web3 UI Kit is a style guide. WagMe.
That's
So
how you
React hooks
React
with
hooks.
Ethereum.
Yeah.
React
hooks.
hooks.
React hooks that like, it's basically makes it really easy to read anything from a contract, deploy using the contract, fetching balance.
So I would recommend you do all this stuff by hand with Ethers.js. But when you get tired of that and you have to speed it up, you use WagMe or you use these other kits that were just like,
Or if
here's
you're
the
the
address
team.
for the contract, give me the stuff on it, right?
Right, so like if you're gonna use Morales,
Yeah, I got you.
Morales does
Love
pretty
technical
much
food.
just makes calling functions on your contract a lot
Yeah.
easier, right? It abstracts a bunch of the stuff away from you, which is good if you have a bunch of like Web2 native people and you need them to make frontends, right?
Just makes it a little bit easier so they can actually like apply their skills to this.
Exactly.
Instead of like wrapping their head around like Ethers providers and stuff.
Exactly. So that's like, so Morales is an option, Web3 UI, WagMe, there's tons of them out there. So when you start getting into like connecting with wallets, you'll find yourself like going over 1,000 things. Like one of the ones I think if you ever want like just a very simple user interface,
I don't think it's the
oh yeah, it was there.
let's go back.
So Magic Link, super easy for you to kind of like, for your users to use.
What is this?
This is a wallet.
Does it run as a browser extension or?
It sends you an email?
It's just a bunch of API calls, so you can actually, here, we'll do this.
I think this is what the Trump NFTs use.
Okay. So if anybody's
Not a
like,
great
hey,
look.
I need.
Yeah.
If somebody-
Well, in that case, never mind.
If anybody's like, I just need like one for like the lowest common denominator, just
1-1.
Trump supporters.
They're pretty much like, I don't want my users to think you can use.
Cause yeah, it's just barriers to entry to doing whatever, like the endpoint is.
I think it's just tied to your email or your wallet.
Well,
Oh,
it's
what?
tied to your email or.
They email you your private key.
It's not a good email you private key.
I mean, your email is the private key, isn't it?
No. You have a connection, so you can come connect. Well, let's disconnect.
Why can't your email be private key?
Can you?
It can reference it, it can't be a private key,
Well,
why,
you
we know
will-
why
They
it
don't
can be
give
private.
you the private key.
But
Oh,
why can't it be the private key?
I see.
Private key is,
It's supposed to be private.
well, it's a big long number on a curve, we all know this, you can't like, an email doesn't map to the,
All the,
SPECK256 curve, right, SPK?
So somebody can come in, they can sign up with email, they can use any of these, and this is like a white label, so like you could replace all this with whatever you want.
Oh, sick.
And then,
Is it like paid?
yeah, and then your users can now log in with their email. This is like necessarily kind of a custodial wallet in the sense that
Someone knows your email.
Where's the mnemonic, Steve?
it would be, so they would have to go to Magic Link. Well, so, I don't have the button for it. You can make another API call that basically says show wallet. And from show wallet, they could click and then they have to log into Magic Link's actual web page. And then they'd have to request their seed phrase. Then they could use that and actually input that into MetaMask.
So they can't
But
use the
the-
actual wallet.
No, you could put that seed phrase into MetaMask. This wallet only lives on the dApp you created. So I can't go to another dApp or OpenSea or anywhere and use it without, like, the whole purpose of this specific wallet is to be as user friendly as possible. So,
And what was this one called?
Magic Link.
Magic Link.
And I had to do a lot of research on getting the best user-friendly wallet. I would say this is probably the best one. Crossman is there, but they're kind of only supporting NFTs.
It just comes with caveats though, cause like, to educate people, like you have to export your private keys and stuff through the actual website.
But the
itself, so-
idea is that this is a wallet that would only exist this is an option to use when you're like, my users are gonna come here, they don't want to really know they're using Web3, cause you can get rid of all those other buttons, you can get rid of MetaMask, everything, it's like just
Yeah.
log in with email.
Yeah.
Don't know that they're using Web3, and you're obfuscating all of it, you're not even gonna call it a
Is
wallet.
so how does Magic Link actually work? Do they store the private key?
They have it written, but I remember something about I don't think they store the private key. I forget exactly.
They have to somewhere because if you
Yeah,
dump it,
for
but they
sure.
might not have access to it.
Yeah.
Might be
They
like
did,
a shot or
let's
something.
see.
That'd be interesting if you had like if you had like a contract that maybe was multi-sig or whatever.
Oh, there's a white paper found it.
That'd be interesting.
They have.
Yeah, there's a white paper view of security. Yeah, security. Click on security.
Profile. Cannot find private key. That's good, obviously.
No,
Just click on security. Click on security. Yeah, and then white paper.
Yeah, do it through the whole way. They have it somewhere where they
That's
did
where the
have it.
information is, right?
Yeah, but they had it right there. It says,
It's zero knowledge authentication, ZK.
Magic does store encrypted data in an iframe, but when we go to frequently asked questions, look what it is.
They wanna give you
It's their FAQ page.
Let's just say, I guess, magic.
Don't worry about it.
Honestly, in the white paper, it's actually pretty interesting. Like the architecture.
It's pretty wild.
But yeah, that's an option. But only use it if you needed it, right? In the future, if somebody's like, they don't wanna know that they're using blockchain, but they want you to, which honestly I'm seeing to start with a lot of businesses, is pretty much they're like, oh, we use blockchain without you really knowing. So if you end up building something like that, there are things for,
Just less barriers to entry.
or try to be idealistic and tell them this is stupid and that they need to educate their customers, but that may not always work.
The problem for mass adoption is people don't want to be educated. Like, people are just lazy.
But there's trade-offs, right? So there's trade-offs. If you don't educate people, then you're trading off some of the
Yeah,
freedom
the freedom, yeah.
of the.
I bet you there's like a middle ground where it's like, there's definitely something interesting.
Does anybody have any other questions kind of about deploying front ends, getting front ends up, or just any front end questions in general before you get to your final projects?
In terms of like, you were talking about like mobile first development, what's your best practice for doing that, like through Chrome Web Tools or kind of just like?
So if I was gonna do something mobile first, I'm gonna come to inspect, I'm
And just
gonna
like change
turn,
it,
yep, I'm gonna turn this into mobile, I'm not gonna do responsive. I'm probably gonna pick one of these first three,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna focus with iPhones because
Or
they
like
have
your
the most users.
special
That's
Yeah.
what I care about. And this is like what I would be
I don't know,
looking
you
at
can
as I
prove that
develop
you're-
the whole time, right?
How do you
And this is where I would start my design. I wouldn't even make a desktop design. I would start beginning with the mobile, and then my media queries would make everything get larger, because it's just gonna be easier.
Yeah.
Also because majority of people use their phones to get, like as a developer, you're like, oh, I always use my laptop, but most people do not.
Yeah.
Right? They visit your phone first from, your app first from your phone.
Yeah.
So,
Whew.
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, let's get over to before we get pizza, real quick, who's got a final project? Who's working on one? Who's got an idea for a final project? I know you guys do. Greg does. Vanessa, you got an idea for one? We're still brainstorming. Okay. I know there's Oscar and Vanessa. Maybe I don't want to pay you guys together, but just thinking of like, you guys are better as teams and
Can we-
get more done. So whoever doesn't have a team yet or doesn't have a final project, maybe you guys can work together to be more efficient or effective. But
Also,
yeah,
we could do a brainstorming session while we're just chilling.
Yeah, we could
Just
too.
everyone talk about different ideas in the ecosystem.
definitely.
I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
If there's a way we can, structure that, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up, guys.
No.
Pizza time.
I'm gonna not go.
Thank you, Chad.
Of course. Yeah, thank you guys so much.